We should be live now. Awesome. Okay, we're live. Hey, guys, it's Old Man G or G with something new. We're doing something new. It is this 100% Manchester United podcast, and I'm joined by some really good friends of mine. And if we just want to introduce ourselves from top to bottom.
So that'll be me. I'm Robin. I run a channel called Draco FO, which is now all about Manchester United. So the news, transfer latest and speculation, match reviews and previews.
Awesome.
Hi, I'm Kieran.
Sorry. Hi, I'm Kieran. I run a channel called Red Door Weekly, which is basically a Man United fan channel, and it just covers Man United transfer news, previews, reviews, all that good stuff. So yeah, really excited for this.
Awesome.
I'm Shane, otherwise known as the United Man. Like the rest of the lads, into Man United, love Man United, all things United. Let's go, lads.
Awesome. Let's go. So, like I said, we're hoping to do see how our populace is, see how this works, but hoping to do this like at least maybe semi-weekly, where we basically just talk about the issues around Manchester United Football Club as a whole. So everyone here is obviously really passionate about Manchester United Football Club and wants United to do well. Unfortunately, that's not going according to plan so far. So let's just get stuck into it, I think better than present. And let's just talk about, obviously, Manchester United lost to Arsenal at the Emirates. I've been bantered by a lot of Arsenal fans already, including my brother.
As you would.
Where do we start? With Robin Draco, like what went wrong?
I think so. I'm from London, so I have a lot of family members and friends who support Arsenal. So yeah, I'm in the same boat as you, mate. I've got bantered so much leading up to the game, and then even after the game, even worse. What went wrong? I think first of all, when the lineup came out, it was still the same formation. So Arsenal, obviously, with Arteta at the helm, and they've already made sort of few changes in their tactical approach. You can see that in the last couple of games heading into the United game. Arteta is obviously a very clever man. And it's almost like you know how to play against United. We play one system, one sort of tactic, which is fast counter-attacking. And I think Arsenal kind of prepared for that. And the biggest thing is, obviously, the result was disappointing, losing 2-0. But the biggest thing was probably the changes didn't happen soon enough. So first half, it was a disaster. And second half, I would have thought Ole would have possibly made some changes. The same team came out. The same tactics came out. I don't know how Jesse Lingard was still on the field.
We'll talk about Lingard.
Yeah, let's. But I think that's probably where it went really wrong. I think Arteta was the first person to make some sort of change. It should have been Ole making the change. I think on the 56th or 8th minute, that's when Ole made a change. And even when there was a change, it was more like a like-for-like change. It wasn't like a change for system. Like James came off for Greenwood, and I think Pereira came on for Lingard. It was like the same thing. So I think second half we could have changed things, but the problem we have is the team only knows to play one sort of system, and a 4-2-3-1 counter-attacking system. And I think a lot more of the teams going forward, opposing team that is, will probably catch up on that very quick if we're not careful. I think that's probably where major for me it went wrong.
Okay, Shane, Night Man, what do you think?
Ultimately, I think we're very, very naive tactically. We're, I believe we've got people in the backroom staff, i.e. Carrick, might feeling that, listen, Ollie makes the decisions, the final calls and all that jazz, but ultimately we're in a position now where, you can't just be a one-trick pony, unfortunately. And as Robin alluded to, the fact that we're not changing our tactics, the 4-2-3-1, for me, is very complimentary of other teams. The reason I say that is because if we're looking to, maintain possession of the ball, if we've got two deep line playmakers or ball winners, whichever it may be, we're not going to be offensively on the front foot. We're always going to be inviting people onto us. So the fact that we don't have a specialist central defensive midfielder, I think that's the reason why. And we don't actually have, I think Fred and McTominay, they've done well in their roles going, for up to this point. But I think the very fact that our possession in each game, or most games, we're sort of conceding an extra 20% possession to the other team. So that means more and more pressure on the defence. So ultimately, I think we're showing too much respect in terms of setting up two holding midfielders. I believe that we don't have that much creativity in the side without Pogba, obviously. But the way we set up, it contributes to inviting teams onto us, and unfortunately, we're just getting punished continually. And again, going forwards in terms of creating, if we've got two holding midfielders and only one attacking, again, it sort of limits us in terms of creating as well. So for me, it's all about that central midfield area, unfortunately. We're getting on one lost.
Fine. While we wait for Colin to go, I think it's just having some internet issues.
Technical issues.
Yeah.
I think you guys were right. I do think that, and we'll come on to this in a bit later, actually, that the injury crisis, the injury crisis, that we're starting to see the lack of investment that we should have had in the summer bite us in the ass. It's already been biting us in the ass for quite some time. But when you're going into a match against one of your top rivals, and Matic and Fred are the only options. I mean, I looked at the bench, I think, against Arsenal, and there were no midfielders on that bench. I don't really class Pereira or Mata as midfielders, number 10s, etc., not as true midfielders. Worry. So I would be very, very, very concerned that, a part of me looking back for the game after I've cooled down and I'm not ranting anymore, does say, well, hang on for a second. Who could Ollie bring on to actually change things in the first place? So aside from Mason Greenwood and possibly Pereira, who has been semi inconsistent, there's not a lot that you could sort of change. That doesn't, however, excuse Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's tactics and the fact that, as I think Robin actually mentioned, Jesse Lingard has not scored or assisted in all of 2019, and he's starting. Greenwood, even though he's a kid, has still scored more goals and assisted more goals than Jesse Lingard. As has Pereira, as has Daniel James. All of them should start ahead of I'd even start, to be honest, Mata ahead of Jesse Lingard. So yeah, it's like that.
He's more effective, isn't he?
Yeah, I think with Lingard, he started purely based on emotions. I think because Ollie thought he had good times at the Emirates, he might make a bit of an impact, and that's what I personally thought as well. I think 2020 is going to be Jesse's year, and the first game of 2020 is Arsenal at the Emirates. If anyone's going to turn it on, it's probably most likely going to be him. It didn't work out, obviously. And going back to your point when you mentioned on the bench, so I looked at the bench when the lineup came out, and I saw Brandon Williams, Ashley Young, and Phil Jones. That's 3 defenders, including the goalkeeper, right? Yeah. You don't need, yes, Williams has been fantastic, that's fine, but you don't need 3 defenders on the bench along with the goalkeeper. Where was Ghana? I think whatever's happening in the background, we don't know. But I would like to have seen at least Ghana make it on the bench, given our midfielders, central midfielders, sort of non-existent, like nobody's there with the injuries and absentees. But yeah, Ghana, I would like to see him given more of a chance now, just like how maybe Brandon Williams was, where he was effectively given a chance because Luke Shaw got injured, right? We had nobody else. So to rotate with Ashley Young. So maybe give the kid a bit of a run up, 2-3 games here and there, 20, 30 minutes, and just ease him into the game. You never know. He could be a Mason Greenwood of the midfield or Brandon Williams of the midfield, James Garner. That's what I felt a little bit more disappointed is the benching options, I think. three defenders.
I mean, for me, I think you're right, and I think for me, what concerns, and this is why I've sort of started to get a bit. Well, I've started up already. If you've heard it in my post match reactions, you can hear my exacerbation with Ollie. My issues, we have two players in, well, specifically one player in Angel Gomez. Angel Gomez, I don't understand why. Be clear, don't want to keep dropping numbers on the stream, so I'm happy you guys to come on to the end. Okay, so Red Dog is having some internet issues, so he'll be back. So just be the three of us for the time being. So, but fair play. So just going back to it. If Kieran, if you're watching, by the way, so you can still get involved in the comments and stuff like that as well. Or if you want, you can just have your mic on. That might make the internet easier for you. It's up to you. We can gather you in. You just have to disable your camera if that's what you want. But anyway, so yeah, going back to the thing. Angel Gomez. I'm stunned as to why he's just not. He played a few times in preseason, did really well, and he's not been involved ever since. And I don't understand why. Because he's a midfielder.
Yeah.
As far as I'm aware, an attacking midfielder, somewhat of.
It's great, isn't it?
I feel with Angel Gomez, in all honesty, there's kind of almost like a witch hunt, and that's solely from Ollie, because pre-season he played really, really well. I think he scored 2 goals, assisted 2 goals as well. But Ollie, I remember him saying specifically that Angel Gomez is too small. He didn't say he's small. He didn't say he's small in stature. He said he's too small, and the emphasis being on the word "too," as in it's not enough. His stature isn't good enough. So for me, the writing, I didn't want it to be, and I kind of ignored that comment from Ollie. I did touch on it, but I didn't really sit on it too much. But Angel Gomez, as you said though, G, he's that type of player that unlocks defenses, that has that the eye for a pass, and plays in between the lines, the 1-2s, the neat little 1-2s, and his low center of gravity he's a good little dribbler as well. But technically, he's one of the most gifted players to come through the youth system in quite some time. So McTominay has that physicality. He's got that energy. He's got that strength. But technically, Angel Gomez should have been, hopefully still an opportunity for it, but should have been that guy who comes into that number 10 slot and creates. Even if, for example, you play him off the right, sort of a starting position off the right, but floating, that's an option for him as well. But I really, really don't know what the issue is with Angel Gomez in particular. I'm quite a big fan of him, and I know in the summer he had lots of Bayern Munich, Juventus, PSG, Borussia Dortmund, all looking at him. So if you know people like that are knocking at your door about this 18-year-old kid, then you surely, even if you don't see something in him or you're questioning what you see in him, surely you should take a second look or give him a second opportunity. I feel like when he played in Europe and Ollie started all the kids all together, he kind of lambasted Gomez from that point. We've not seen Gomez in the first team, not just playing, but in the squad since he played all the kids in Europe. So I just think he's one of those players, unfortunately, where a manager just doesn't fancy him for whatever reason. And I feel like I'm sure you've heard it. Angel Gomez.
Sorry to interrupt you, Shane, and it's listen to you, Robin, as well. Is that is there a, I don't know, a British bias by Solskjaer and his, because to be honest, this time last year, Fred wasn't playing, and we kept on saying to everyone, Ollie doesn't fancy it. I think the only reason Fred is playing is because Pogba, all the midfielder options. We didn't get Sean Longstaff in the summer. We'll talk about that in a second as well, by the way. So we shouldn't even be thinking about Sean Longstaff if the rumors are to be correct. But, this sort of, I don't know, maybe British bias towards players who,
I think to touch on that, I think you have a point. I think it's not probably out in the open as much exposure, but I think everybody knows there is some sort of British bias that Oli prefers. You've seen that in the transfers. You've seen that all the players that is kind of we're being linked to most is the British players. Touching on Angel Gomez, he went out on the tour over the summer and everything looked good. I do believe that his contract expires in this summer.
Yeah,
so
it does. Yeah,
now he's allowed to speak to other clubs. So you never know. He might have had a point where, you know what, I probably will, if the likes of Barca, Bayern, etc., coming through, you're probably going to get more chance. And at the moment, I think our youth development over the last few years has not been that great.
No.
So him looking in there and seeing how the club is run, I think his head probably would have turned. I mean, it'll be a shame to lose a quality player like himself. I think he managed to be a captain of all the youth.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Yeah, absolutely.
Have leadership qualities as well. So for Oli to come out and say he's too small, I mean, and I think say Brandon Williams, he's a skinny little lad, isn't he? But you never know. I think there's something going on in the background with Angel Gomez. He's not even in the squad, as Shane touched upon. Even in Europa League games, like where we qualified, is right. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Where it's baffling. Same goes with Tai Chong. I think he's a talent.
Yeah,
he had a couple of games more than Angel Gomez. He didn't have a very good time, but I think his contract runs out this summer.
Yeah, it does.
He'll have to speak to him.
The issue is that with a lot of these young players, is that what Oli should have done is that they should have all gone out on loan.
Yeah.
Okay. When I look at like Chelsea, when I look at Arsenal, though, I think Arsenal's, Chelsea and Arsenal young players are leaps and bounds ahead of United's players right now. And I don't think it's because they're necessarily more talented. But in the case of Chelsea, they've been out on loan, like, Tammy Abraham, Sylvester, they've gone out on loan moves, developed their game. Whereas and with Arsenal, the players, they've been in the academy, they've also been playing quite regularly in the first team and in Europa League. So if you look at Sacco, Willock, you could have a young player, Martinelli, they've got all those who've been playing regularly. Oli keeps on talking about this whole vision for the future, youth for the future. But when I look at the only player I can't think of actually, the reason indictment on Oli is that with at least all the other managers, they brought in like a player. It was maybe it was one. So Mourinho was the one that like uncovered McTominay and played McTominay all the time. With Solskjaer, I can't think of a single player that he has like stuck with, that he's brought in through the youth and said, right, this is the player that I'm bringing through and getting through. Maybe Greenwood, but even Greenwood isn't really it's a kind of like here nor there. And when it comes to experienced top games, he's not playing. So I'm not sure.
I think with Oli, like you said though, he's preaching youth. He's preaching, I want to do this, I want to do that. But you've got to have a balance. Two, you've got to practice what you're actually preaching. So as you said, he's not really other than Mason Greenwood, who's outstanding. Like, look, if Greenwood wasn't playing, there'd be a witch hunt for him. So it's because his talent is unquestioned. You can't not really say you can't really not give him the opportunity. So for me, I just feel like Angel Gomez is going to be another Pogba situation. Even Ghana, what we were speaking about earlier, Robin, about him being given an opportunity. I don't know is the honest answer why Oli's not giving him the opportunity. To me, you don't go throw 11 kids into a game together. You blood them in together with the more experienced first team players, I should say. But likewise, that's what's happening or not happening with our first team anyway, is we don't have that level of experienced professionals, where they've got 6-7 seasons under their belts and, that kind of thing. So at the minute, that's why for me, the inconsistency keeps rearing its head. And I'd love to see I'd love to see Williams being given an extended run, maybe 6-7 games together. But I just don't think Ollie's going to do that. I don't know why.
I think with Ollie, the reason probably why he's not going to do that, I think the results has been such a yo-yo over the season that he's kind of almost scared to give a proper youngster a go at the first team for 5, 6, 7, etc. Unless there's a major injury, as was the case with Luke Shaw, where he had no choice but to kind of bring on Brandon Williams. So I think Ollie's a little bit scared for his job. I don't think he's going to lose his job. So that's a whole different topic in itself. But I think for where he had a lot of aspirations and all the talks about he's going to play the youth and etc. etc. I think the reality has hit him a little bit. The pressure's a little bit on him, I think. And I genuinely believe that he probably wants to play the youth, but he's too scared for his job, for him to be. But what kind of confuses me is he's not including many youth players on the bench. You know,
that's true.
Not the match day experience. Isn't it?
The thing is, I think a lot of, and we'll move on just so this is a point. So, but I think what was this that like a lot of, I think United fans would be more forgiving, okay, if he played young players. So if he plays Brandon Williams, if he plays Garner, if he plays Trompos Gomez, and we're like, okay, they're not good enough, we're not going to sort of get on their back and go, oh, they're useless, oh, they're awful, because we'll say, you know, these are young players. They're just sort of, because when you're that age, you need encouragement, you need confidence. So if he plays youth regularly, he'll be, and they don't perform, like he will be forgiven. The issue seems to be that since he's come in, really, and even on our like good 3-month run, it's not like even I'm saying that Solskjaer should play every single young player. It's just the fact, like, unlike previous managers, even if you include Van Gaal, who brought in like Rashford, Martial, and a lot of young, Mourinho even brought McTominay. There's not one player that I can think of that Solskjaer's been like, right, I'm going to take this young player and incorporate him into our squad. I can't think of one. And it's like, that's, we criticize Mourinho, for example, for not using enough young players. And yet, not only has Solskjaer, in my opinion, been worse than Mourinho in terms of bringing in young players, but he's also had worse results.
Yeah. I mean, talking about, say, results, I was reading a stats, was it yesterday, where I think when Ollie was an interim manager, he won 10 of the 13 games. And then since he's got the job, he's won 10 of 28 to 29 games, which is a huge sort of difference. And you're right, in between that, it's been almost over a year, right, since Ollie's been in charge. I can't kind of pinpoint one youngster that think, okay, that is Ollie's guy. I look at McTominay, I think, that was Mourinho's guy.
Exactly.
And then going back to Van Gaal, you said, that was Rashford. That was Van Gaal's guy, Rashford. But looking at Ollie, I think maybe Brandon Williams comes close to that mark. But I think with Brandon Williams, he was more sort of like shoved in because Luke Shaw was injured. And it was, I think, a League Cup game, if I'm correct, where he made a debut and he had a fantastic game. And that was pretty much it. That Brandon Williams was pretty much in the squad almost every week. Maybe that one you can give probably Ollie a bit of credit, but it's still early days. You never know. I do expect a lot more. I mean, I do want some clarification around James Garner, why he's not even in the squad. Angel Gomez, Tai Chong, these are talented youngsters coming through. Potentially can be world class if coached right and given enough time.
Let me quickly bring in Red Devil Weekly, and can you hear us?
Yeah, I can. I apologise. I mean, it's what a day to go wrong, eh? What a day for it all to go wrong. I sincerely apologise to everyone.
Nah, you're good, mate.
So, what do you think about this situation? Obviously, we've essentially been talking just about. We've reacted obviously to the Arsenal fallout, but also, I guess the conversation has gone on to the fact that, and why even talking about Gomez for a matter is that we obviously have no midfielders because they're all injured, and it still baffles me why Angel Gomez isn't even in the conversation, and why Ole Gunnar Solskjaer isn't playing the youth in that sense, in that area, and developing Garner Gomez. And what do you think before we move on?
Well, I mean, I 100% agree. I mean, you look at someone like Jesse Lingard against Arsenal, like how on earth he's paid money to play football, I do not know. But, you're telling me that Gomez or even Ghana would have come into that team and done any worse than he would. I really don't think he would have done.
Yeah,
And
that's true.
I was hearing what you guys were saying about how, obviously Solskjaer doesn't have that one, young player that he's been kind of bringing through and blooding through and, playing on a consistent basis. And, I think that's a very, very interesting point. Obviously, you've got people like Pep Guardiola, who've got Phil Foden, who seems to be his kind of protege, if you like. He's bringing him through. And clubs have, different ones, but I feel like, Solskjaer doesn't really, look to play youngsters consistently enough. Obviously, Mason Greenwood, I think even a blind man could tell that Mason Greenwood, was going to be an absolute star in the first team. And, whilst, when we do see Greenwood play, obviously we give Solskjaer credit for putting him in the lineup, and he usually, pays dividends for Solskjaer. In some ways, we don't see Greenwood, often enough. And the likes of, Chong and Gomez as well, again, they haven't been given a proper run in the first team. And, someone like T. Chong, I think, he has been getting a lot of stick from United fans, but there is promise there. And I think if you are going to, bring him through, you need to kind of, blood him in gently, coach him the right way. And I think then we might be able to see, some more, him pay dividends. But if you're going to throw him into the deep end and, give him impossible tasks, he's still a young kid. So at the same time, with the proper coaching and with, softly, bringing them in and, making them feel comfortable in the first team, I think then we'll start to see, the potential kind of shine through. But yeah, I think the points you're making were actually very interesting.
Good. No, good shout. Okay. So we'll put the topic to bed for a second. And I mean, I guess we've also semi-covered injuries in that sense, because obviously we've sort of mentioned obviously Paul Pogba has to have ankle surgery. McTominay's out from what I hear for months.
Yeah.
Probably not be back till March. We've got people coming back in Dallo, I think Twansibi and a few others are going to be coming back. But I mean, the title of this podcast is actually Crisis at United. And I said it was crisis because for various reasons, not only because of our results, but also because it feels like we're having crises in different areas, in injuries, in our inability to make transfers, in our inability to play on the field. There just doesn't seem to be any particular respite, which is why I think this is a crisis. When we talk about, I guess we'll briefly just talk about injuries for a second. What is actually going on at Manchester United Football Club in the fact that we seem to have so many injuries all the time?
Well, I'll go first. I'm not 100% sure what's happening in the background, but Oli talked about he has, I think, was it a week or 2 weeks ago, he said he has the best sort of backroom staff or fitness staff at the back. And obviously we heard the stories, even Oli come up and said that last season in the summer where they'll be training harder for the fitness and everything. I think he's probably ran them to the ground. And so most of these players are kind of feeling the effects. I was just looking at one of the comments by Giorgio B when he said, if Fred gets injured, we are screwed. And Fred, I was just thinking that this morning, oh my God, he has been playing the whole of Christmas, isn't it? He hasn't like almost full 90 minutes every game. And he's a sort of like a last midfielder of quality left. Because you can't really count Matic, who's come back really. But I think it's to do with a lot of the fitness coaching in the background. I'm not an expert in all that sort of technical side of things in the staff background, but definitely what I can see is that with the same midfielders getting played in, week out, on top of, say, Pogba being injured for most of the season, I think Ole's not giving enough rest in between games. If you look at Fred as an example, he's played potentially tomorrow if he plays, 4 or 5 games on the trot now over the festive period.
I'm even thinking about Wan-Bissaka.
Yeah.
I mean, who aside from I guess you have Ashley Young who could be a right back, so he does to you there. So, but think of the amount of games that Wan-Bissaka has played. Yeah,
defensively, I think Wan-Bissaka has been our best player, and that includes De Gea. Ortega's had a few mistakes this season. I think Wan-Bissaka has been amazing. If he gets injured now, I think we're in a bit of a pickle, isn't it? I think was it Ethan Laird? If I pronounce
Ethan
it right.
Laird, yeah.
He played one game, didn't he, where he shined a lot in the Carling Cup.
Yeah.
Since then, he hasn't featured in the bench at all. You got Dalot out injured. I would have thought that maybe he would have featured a lot more just to play a bit of rotation. I think Oli is probably not rotating enough.
No, it's not.
He's rotating here and there, but not enough. And that's probably where the problem is the rotation and the tactical nous on when to rotate. And if we had maybe more than one tactic, we could have actually had different players coming in playing different positions. At the moment, we're playing with essentially a 4-2-3-1, which means that two midfielders, CDMs or whatever you want to call them, are playing week in, week out, regardless.
Yeah.
That's probably where the problem is. Not enough tactical nous for rotation for me.
Okay, fair enough. Okay.
Transfers are a different story.
Yeah.
I'm just talking.
We will get to that. Red Devil Leaky, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I think Draco made a lot of good points there. I mean, to be fair, I don't know what's going on in training, to be honest. Obviously, Solskjaer did talk about, getting the fitness up, especially after that Everton game last season. I think it was definitely great to hear from a fan's point of view that we'd be focusing on fitness a lot more, and, making sure we're not outrun by teams, which it seems like we're not. Obviously this season there has been an improvement in that, but obviously there is going to be costs. And we talk about players that play every week, like Fred, and I think one player as well, Marcus Rashford. He hasn't had too many, rests, and
I agree.
I don't want to, tempt any fate or anything, but I would not be surprised if we see some sort of injury for Marcus Rashford if he's not, used properly by Solskjaer. Now, obviously, we're kind of playing, Rashford, Martial, and James as a front quartet almost, or a front three kind of thing when we go forward, and that is it obviously works, but we do need to, potentially be, swapping them out and rotating more. And it's frustrating because obviously, our squad depth isn't the best. And that's where obviously, transfers and things like that will come in. But I think even so, there might not be that much quality on the bench, but just in a practical point of view, you can't have, the same players playing every week and then expecting for there not to be those sort of injuries. And it's frustrating because McTominay getting injured has now obviously brought the likes of Nemanja Matic into the midfield, which is something that we all thought was a distant memory. We thought that was done. And we thought we didn't have to worry about that again. So now obviously you've got Matic back into the team, and it's hurting our team. And it's frustrating really to see. But at the same time, when you don't rotate enough, these sort of things are going to happen again with someone like Wan-Bissaka. Obviously, he does like to play Ashley Young sometimes, but again, he's someone we can't really afford to lose. So it's going to be interesting to see. Obviously, we seem to have kind of got over the festive period, Barry, but now there are some more games coming thick and fast. We've got Wolves, and then we've got Man City. There's not going to be any respite for these players. So it'd be interesting to see how Solskjaer manages this.
I just think, and sorry, before I even go into Shane, your thoughts, sorry.
It's just a real short point, which you've seen happen loads of times before, where players get injured, they come.
Ooh, Shane, you still with us?
I think Shane's injured.
Ooh.
Not been.
Okay.
We've not been rotating enough, as obviously Kieran and Robin said, and yourself as well, G. But when a player comes back from an injury, and they've been doing rehab, say for example a knee injury, I know typically you're supposed to do your rehab work on your quadricep muscle and your calf muscle, all that kind of stuff as well. You have everything's around wherever the injury is. You're supposed to do strengthening work on those muscles surrounding it. So obviously you'd assume, being a professional club, they'd do that, but the very fact that the same thing keeps happening, I just don't know if that is the case. And obviously, like you guys already said, look, we just don't rotate enough, and that's what it comes down to.
I think, and I'll end with this before we move on to transfers, is that I don't. This for me, I guess, maybe shows the naivety, or maybe actually I'm done past saying naivety. I'd say foolishness now of Ole Gunnar in the summer, because we knew that Herrera was going to go, and we sold Fellaini in January, and then obviously Lukaku went. So three key players, in my opinion. I know a lot of United fans, I've said this on my channel a few times, and that I know a lot of United fans weren't happy with the way that Lukaku and Fellaini played. But the reality is that they still scored goals. And they scored goals, often important goals, I must say.
They're effective, yeah.
There was an option. If you're going to let those players go, you need to replace them. We let those three players go, and we didn't replace any of them. We brought in defenders, and we actually, to be fair, we already have a lot of defenders in Manchester United. It's just that a lot of them get injured all the time or are useless. Yeah, Phil Jones. So to go in with that knowledge, knowing that we're down a midfielder, we're down a striker, and to not knowing that there's a possibility that we could have injuries. I know it's foolish, in my opinion. It's absolutely foolish. And we're now down 2 more midfielders. So essentially, 2019, we've lost 4 midfield players to Manchester United.
Yeah.
What top 6 team has lost 4 midfield players in their squad? It's ridiculous.
None whatsoever. And that was part of my frustration, I'll be honest with you, because, okay, fair enough that we did have, and we still do have 1 or 2 players that are dead wood, so to speak. But that being said, Ollie knows that we need players. Woodward will know that we need players. My real gripe is, why are we not planning ahead? Why are we not doing the deal? So say, for example, we missed out on a midfielder in the summer. Why are we not then? Because you can sign players, obviously, outside the transfer windows, but you can't make it public or complete the deal until the next transfer window opens. So say, for example, we missed out on, I don't know, we could have signed Paulo Dybala, but obviously wages were astronomical. But say, for example, we missed out on him in the summer. We could have done a deal, worked out a deal between September and December. And then when the January window opens, we could then complete that deal. So I'm saying what we keep doing is waiting until the transfer windows are open, then making movements, as opposed to getting the work done beforehand. Look at Borussia Dortmund. They got the Haaland deal done just like that. Last summer as well. They bearing in mind their window opens up 2 weeks after ours. Before their window opened, they were announcing signings. The Hazard younger brother, Julian Brand. I think there's 4 players that they did already sign before their window opened.
Just look at Liverpool.
Yeah, exactly. They've done it.
Boom.
Yeah,
from Salzburg. From Salzburg. Yeah.
Just like that. No, there's no fuss around it. No media hype. I don't think anyone knew about it. It was just boom, gone, and that
done. When was the last time we did that as a deal, as a transfer? I just don't remember. That's all. The last time we just signed someone we didn't know, we didn't hear anything about, but it was just deal done.
Yeah. I think I
don't remember.
Yeah, I think touching on Shane's point, I think Woodward is clearly in charge of all that department. I think he wants to make it wow and all this. When the signing happens, he wants everyone to know about it. He creates videos and advertises it just for the shares and whatever he does in the commercial side. I think with Dortmund, Liverpool, that sort of structure, many other teams, they generally have a structure in the club. Yeah, they've got director of footballs, they've got people who have footballing knowledge in charge above the manager. We do not have that because for whatever reason, Woodward doesn't want to give that power up, right? And I think we struggled. For a club who is one of the biggest sporting franchises in the world, forget footballing club in the world, sporting franchise, I find
that's true
that they don't have a plan B, C, D, or E.
Yeah.
So plan A fails, okay, we go for plan B. As Shane touched upon, you had since the transfer window closing till now, you had a solid 4 months or so, at the very least 4 or 5 months, to be able to make a decision and to bring in a player. Now we're in January 3rd, pretty much. I know it's early days still, but we're not expecting anything to happen over the weekend. And nothing's it's just rumors and speculation still. There's nothing concrete. And it's concerning. And right now, see our central midfielders, we're in a bit of a crisis at the moment, because at the moment it's just Fred and Matic. Matic is well past it. Fred at any point, if he continues playing, could go injured, and we do not have anyone else legitimately. I don't see Pereira as a central midfielder or Mata.
Well, let's go into this. We move along because well, I think that's what to talk about to the transfer window, and then just briefly about the Wolves game. Hand over to Red Devil Weekly, Kieran, and this is the question is to everybody: is that will Manchester United actually sign anyone? I know we post a lot of videos about channels. Will we actually sign anyone in January? Are you genuinely confident? We need to speak the truth here. Do you think we're actually going to sign anyone in January at all?
I'm not confident, to be honest. I feel like there is potential for there, and to be honest, obviously Solskjaer will come out and say that we're looking at one or two, but at the same time, there's a lot of potential for the fact that Solskjaer's been briefed on what to say and to appease the fans. And obviously, you know, he's saying the right things. We should be looking at players because, you know, as Robin and Shane have rightly said, we are lacking players. We are short, and that's evident to see. But for me, just looking at, you know, last January, obviously, you know, it's Jose Mourinho's second season. We did bring in, you know, Alexis Sanchez, which didn't turn out as planned. But in January's gone by, we haven't really done business, and I just feel like this January will be another one where, you know, we'll get to the end of January and Solskjaer will say that, you know, there weren't any players that are available for the right price and that fit the team, which obviously as a fan, I want the player that we bring in to be, you know, the right price and to fit the team. But I think the price should be kind of a secondary thing. If the player comes available and fits the team, I think we should be looking to bring him in. But personally, I just don't see that happening. And also, I don't see Manchester United as big of a draw to players as it used to be. Now, obviously, we are still very much, you know, one of the biggest clubs in the world in terms of commercially, and also one of the biggest names in sports. But that aside, as a player, you know, if you're James Maddison, if I was James Maddison, I'm not looking at Manchester United going, you know, they've got a lot of potential to do things. I'm looking, you know, at Leicester, I'm looking at my own team and thinking, you know, we've got more potential. We've got more young players. We're playing better football. I don't see why someone like him would want to transfer to Manchester United, other than the fact that he supported Manchester United as a kid. But, I mean, maybe money can tempt him. I'm not sure. But personally, I just feel like it's going to be another one of those frustrating January windows where nothing gets over the line and then we get some sort of excuse at the end of it, unfortunately. But, of course, going to still be putting out some content about it. You have to.
Yeah.
I think Kieran is absolutely right. I think in the January transfer window, I think it's going to be a lot of huffs and puffs. There's going to be rumors and speculations, and I think, you know, it works well for our channels, I think, with the transfer speculations. But I think I'd rather have a player come in, and Solskjaer talking about value in the market. Look, you're a manager. You just want players. Why do you care about value in the market? You need players. Go and get that player. Demand that player. You know, it's clearly Ed Woodward or the Glazers talking through him, like value in the market. I've never heard of any other managers like a City or Liverpool or anyone else talking around value in the market.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a shame.
Exactly. It's how much he says it though, isn't it? As well, though, Robin.
Yeah,
he says it a lot.
Yeah,
it's within reason. I mean, of course, yes. If Newcastle were to quote 200 million for Sean Longstaff, we go, are you guys high or something? You know. So I get the general principle in that. Like, there are even Neymar, to be honest, I never felt was worth 200 million, 250, to be honest.
Nah, not a chance. Not a chance.
You know, so I get that logic and reason, but what I don't get by that statement is that you were happy to pay 80 million for Harry Maguire. I don't think Harry Maguire was worth 80 million pounds. So clearly you're prepared to pay a lot of money. And the thing is, Leicester City demanded that fee. So you keep on saying, on the one hand, we're not going to be held to ransom, we're not going to be able to do this, but our signings with Crystal Palace, Wan-Bissaka and Harry Maguire,
they say otherwise, don't they? We
had to meet their value.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make sense, really, you know. So unless, like, what Ollie's essentially trying to say is, we'll pay a large amount just so long as they have a British passport and can potentially.
Yeah, that's probably what's happening right there with Harry Maguire, Wan-Bissaka. I think ultimately, especially with Harry Maguire, £80 million was a lot of money. I think the fact that he was British, etc., etc., I think that played a lot of part into the deal. But you look at in January, realistically, wherever you go, clubs are going to put the prices up. You know, it's midway through the season. No one's going to be selling anyone for cheap. You're going to have to break the bank almost for any player. But there are players out there, value for money. If he's talking about value for money, we have a scouting network that is known to be one of the world's best. I'm sure.
Sorry to interrupt you guys. Yeah. If I could just go around to all you guys, and if you just name quickly, like 2 players, because I highly doubt we're going to sign 3, even though I feel we need 3 players. At best, 2 would be a miracle. 1 is reasonable. But if there are 2 players that you thought that United should go for, who do you think they should be? Drake, Robin, you start first, and we'll go on.
Realistically, or
that's exactly what I was going to say. I was exactly going to say that.
Realistically, yeah.
Okay, realistically, I think we'll sign 1, and I'll probably want to. I know probably Shane is probably not a fan of Jack Grealish, but I think he's he's probably obtainable. He's probably obtainable. I do like him, but in a desperate situation, I think he's probably, for me, the most realistic option. Villa is not sort of like in a great position. He's busting his kind of butt working for a team. I think 40-50 million pound would probably tempt Villa to sell Grealish. He's British as well, and he can play on the central midfield, attacking midfield on the left side, I believe, as well.
Yeah,
left position. And he's already ready to go in the Premier League, isn't he? I mean, you're not going to be thinking about embedding him into the whole sort of the country, etc., and the league. I think, realistically speaking, I'll be very angry if we get someone like Sean Longstaff. Very angry. If we're going to spend around 40-50 million pound on a value sort of,
I'd prefer Grealish if that was the case.
I think Todd Cantwell as well. He's a young one. He's 21-year-old. He wouldn't cost that much. You wouldn't break a leg for him. He might be an option. Again, I'm naming all British players. I'm not going to bother naming the likes of Bruno Fernandes or anything like that.
well, let's not go there.
Over to you guys.
Okay, Shane, why don't you go?
So realistically, I as much as I don't want to, I do agree with Robin with regards to Grealish, as in terms of a realistic option. I know the Villa managers come out and said that Grealish won't be leaving Villa this month, but again, just reiterating what Robin's already said, money talks. Like you say, 50, 60 mil, whatever the case may be. He's an improvement on what we've got. That is very, very much the case, and I believe that he's one of those players. He has a lot of quality, but my frustration is that I suppose I'm not being realistic with myself in terms of my expectations and managing my expectations, because I like to see someone of the ilk of kind of Pogba's quality, or my absolute favourite is Marco Verratti, but that's not going to happen. But in terms of what's realistic, I'd say Grealish and in January window, Christian Eriksen. But from what I'm reading, I don't know how, because you've got the other European clubs sniffing around him now, because obviously they can sign him on a pre-contract agreement. So for me, again, the Odi comes out with, okay, we'll do it if it's right, bloody blah. You really need to know what's right or who's right, so to speak. So for me, Grealish and Eriksen.
Okay, Kieran.
Yeah, well, as I said, Robin and Shane, I think they're decent shouts. Again, I would also think Grealish as well in terms of realistic. I would love to sit here and say James Maddison, but I think we'll just get rid of that. To be honest, it's January. I don't see that happening. Potentially in the summer, but January, no chance. Obviously, as well, I've seen we've been linked to someone like what's his name, Kai Havertz as well from Leverkusen. Again, he's someone who potentially we could look at, but I don't see him coming in January. Again, I don't see why he'd leave Leverkusen halfway through the season unless, money talks, as Shane says. But ultimately, I think we do need midfielders. And if we don't bring in one midfielder this transfer window, I think it will have been a missed opportunity, a big missed opportunity.
More than that, a disgrace. I'd say.
No, it's true. Yeah, it's true.
Oh, yeah. Oh, exactly. I agree. I think ultimately, I mean, we look at the likes of Grealish and also Eriksen as well, which I've forgotten about. But yeah, he's obviously getting towards the end of his contract, so that might be one that we should look at. But one of those players, I think, would be a decent shout. But yeah, as you said, it'd be a shambolic transfer window, not even to bring in one midfielder with the crisis we've got, and it is a crisis in the midfield. So I think Eriksen, for me, is someone I've always looked at and thought he's a quality player when he wants to be, of course. I don't know what's happened to him in this past kind of calendar year. He hasn't really been, he's shown glimpses, but he hasn't been the player that he was, a few seasons ago. But potentially someone an experienced pro who could be in, with the likes of the young forward line that we have and give them the service that they need. So yeah, I think Eriksen, Grealish, all the shouts that have been made, I think are very decent. Whether we're going to bring anyone in is the question. And unfortunately, I'm a bit pessimistic on that one. But yeah.
What about you, G?
So I think obviously realism. I think you guys already mentioned your Grealishes and I think even Cantwell, you said at Norwich, is an interesting shout. Whether obviously said Norwich and Grealish, because I'm not obviously I'd be interested to see what the fee is, because both of those teams were left to be battling relegation this season, and I'd be interested to see how much they would be willing to part with those players, because I imagine it won't be particularly cheap. I'd like to think it shouldn't be anywhere between 40 to 50 million, but we will see. Crystal Palace, I think technically it was 60 million or something like that for Wan-Bissaka. So so it wouldn't be in quote cheap. Not that we should care about fans. Eriksen is an interesting one because, as you know, Eriksen's contract expires at the end of the season. I think from what I read, his release clause was he might be going for as low as 25 to 30 million, which I think is reasonable. And I think
definitely.
The issue is more with Eriksen, whether Eriksen wants to come to Manchester United. And my suspicion is that Eriksen would rather wait out at Tottenham and wait for deals than come to Manchester United. The other one that I've seen mentioned a few times, which I actually think, even though he played for Liverpool, wouldn't be such a bad shout, is actually Emre Can from Juventus. I think even more, if not more so, because he can play defensive mid. He can also be a bit more box to box. Yes, I know he played for Liverpool, which is not great, but he's not getting enough gains from Juventus. I think he gets into that Manchester United midfield, frankly, the state he's at. And then lastly, I think, again, more so based on his release clause, but a Timo Werner, possibly. So his release clause is only 27, 30 million. So in my mind, why aren't United just throwing at least 50 or 60? He's got the quality. But whether obviously Leipzig would let him go, it's probably debatable. But if his release clause is that amount, I don't see why we can't at least put in a bid and test the waters, So, yeah, that's.
I've just seen a quote from it's Don Ragnar. He was saying that with regards to Grealish coming, that he's a leader. He works his backside off, and also when Villa went down, he stayed with them, and obviously brought him back up as captain. So when he's put down equals character, and I think that's a really, really good point, if I'm honest. So that's, and I think in the summer we was crying out for characters in our squad as well. And obviously McTominay is a standout character, I feel. I'd say Maguire to a certain extent, but if someone like that is willing to go down and get promoted back up to the Premier League and fight for them, you can't go too far wrong with that. So it's more to the point. I think we all highlighted Grealish. I've got a question though. So we've said our realistic 2 transfers. What about our favoured choices?
Fantasy.
I'll go first.
Yeah.
My favorite, I'm a midfield person. I love my midfielders. You talk about the likes of, say, Messi, Ronaldo in the past, but I've always valued, say, people like Xavi, and Iniesta. So I love my midfielders. At the moment, for me, if I had a dream midfielder that we can get, Frankie de Jong is definitely one.
Oh dear. Oh dear. That's a good one. That's a good one.
Ooh, speaking of Dutch, also go on. I was going to say, just because you mentioned Dutch, even the player that I completely forgot about that. I don't know why United say is Donny van der Beek.
Van der Beek,
exactly.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
He's not a realistic target, no?
He's a realistic target, Van der Beek, isn't he? So same thing with is it as a right winger, Neres I think is still there.
Yeah.
Neres.
And Hakim Ziyech as well.
Yeah.
Oh.
Those for me
go to Ajax. Yeah.
Those are realistic targets, aren't they?
Yeah. Mate, I think go to Ajax with £50 million. I'm sure for one player with us, we can't go wrong than what we've currently got in our squad. But yeah, Frankie de Jong is probably my favorite central midfielder. He'll be my dream signing. Probably you guys would have probably expected me to say Bruno Fernandes. Frankie de Jong is probably.
Hey, we can't use that name.
But yeah, for me, Frankie de Jong is my favorite. Yeah. He'll be my dream signing.
Okay,
brilliant. I'll go then. I think I've already said mine though, in terms of Marco Verratti, but I think one who would be a favourite of mine, and also a possibility of being realistic, would be Adrian Rabiot. I know he went on a free to Juventus, but I've seen that kid play quite a few times, and he's got it all. He's a physical specimen. He's 6'4", very good technically, very good passer. He's a dribbler as well, likes to put in a tackle. But I've seen Arteta trying to make him his first signing. So for me, my favourite would be Verratti, but a realistic favourite of mine would be Adrian Rabiot as well.
Good shout out.
Yeah, I like where you're going. I like where you're going with that. I mean, as I said, I think for me, I'd keep it. I'd say James Maddison. For me, I think just because of the money, it's slightly unrealistic. Yeah. But as I said, it's fantasy. It's fantasy. Also, someone I'd just love to see play in our front three is Kylian Mbappe. I would just love to see the destruction we would cause with Martial, Rashford, and Mbappe up front. I think
that's number one on everyone's list there, Kieran.
I had to be said. He popped into my head. I was just like, the ankles that would be broken with those three up front, ridiculous. So yeah, if I can make two fantasy signings, I reckon Maddison and Mbappe, we just take over the world. Take over the world with that front three.
Just get the ball up there to make sure.
No, man. I think that I think the two signs what everyone said before. I think obviously the right winger and Ajax. For me, we desperately need a right winger. We need midfielders. We do, but I also think that we haven't. I actually posted a poll on my channel when I was looking at over the last 10 years, the wingers that we've had at Manchester United on the right wing. The only ones who come across were Adnan Januzaj, Wilfried Zaha, who I would take back, frankly. I would take back.
Zaha will walk into our team.
And Jesse Lingard is not really a right winger, but he plays there. That's it. In 10 years. That's an Angel Di Maria, I guess, but he was only here for a year, basically. So, but that's about it. There's no one else. And yet that's such an important position. The other position, I think, and is it fantasy? It might be, depending on how Napoli are. But even though I know we signed Maguire, I don't know, guys. I just still feel like if we can get Koulibaly on the cheap, please go for him. Please go for it. Because he would, he is, for me, he's the Van Dijk of Manchester United. If he came into that back line, I just feel like suddenly, boom, there's a confidence. There's a sort of, we thought that Maguire might do that, and maybe he needs time to settle, but he hasn't really had that effect that I feel that Koulibaly would, so that's I doubt it's going to happen because we've already signed for 80 million, but that would be my thing.
Yeah, no, that's a good shout.
Yeah. The two of them together as a partnership would just be it'd be
Wan-Bissaka, Maguire, Koulibaly, and Brandon Williams.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's
dream
some
team.
back four, innit? That's some back four.
Yeah.
That is destruction.
But when you put it in that type of context, that means we're one player away from that. We're only Koulibaly away from that. So you know, we're not too far off, really.
No.
Did Koulibaly sign a contract last year? Was it?
Well, I think it's this issue with the Napoli owner that's been ongoing for a while with him. So I think that
Ancelotti got sacked over it, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And I think Koulibaly is one of the players that they're wanting to move on because of his part in the rebellion. Let's put it that way. So
yeah, I mean, you never know because look, Rojo is pretty much, we know he's probably going to go in the summer. Phil Jones, I'm sure 50-50. Bai is definitely going to go in the summer. I don't think he's going to stay. Smalling possibly might not even come back.
Yeah, he wants to stay at Roma, doesn't he?
Yeah. So we have only Lindelof and Maguire, right? Lindelof is still needs a lot of time, I think. So we might be in a hunt for a centre back. You never know. Koulibaly could be the case. Yeah. What I would like to see,
put a bet on that, Robin. Put a bet on that, mate. Put a bet on that.
What I would like to see is probably give Wan-Bissaka a partnership with Maguire in the centre back. Nothing would be past him.
But how good is he in the air? That's the only thing. That'd be my only thing. How good is he in the air?
Georgia B does mention a point. We haven't actually mentioned Twansibi. Twansibi is obviously around, and I think has the potential to be very good. If anything, if he wasn't injured, I'd have put Twansibi into our centre back situation.
Yeah, Twansibi, I think, was it Fosu-Mensah? Fosu-Mensah is another, but he's been done with injuries pretty much. Well, both of them really.
Yeah. I'd want to try. I think Robin, you mentioned it one time about trying Fosu-Mensah in the CDM position. Yeah. Because he's got the athleticism and obviously he loves to tackle as well.
Yeah, like imagine playing going back to a 4-3-3 system where Oli was such a huge success with. Have Twansibi just to hold and have a box to box, just go up and down. Simple as that. Twansibi is very physical, is pacey. He just needs game time and hopefully, a bit more luck with the injuries. And I think we have a player there. Yeah. Tonali is a good point. Good point. Don Ragnar on the chat saying he's always one of my first signings I make on Football Manager.
Yeah. I don't know much about that Tonali. What's he like?
He's like a sort of like a young Andrea Pirlo.
Don't tell me that. Don't tell me
that. He's a young Andrea Pirlo. I think he's
my gosh.
Next Pirlo. He's very composed on the ball, can ping a ball. He's very aware. He's 20 or 21? I can't remember.
Yeah.
He's absolutely a monster. Obviously, he probably needs to go from where he's playing now to probably a bigger club to be a bit more kind of where he should be. And I think over the next couple of years, if he continues the way he's playing, I think he'll be a big player in the future. And if Football Manager is correct, he's got a release clause of like £9.5 million.
Yeah. Bloody heck. Wow.
But anyway, that's me and Football Manager. That's it.
So I think as we talk, we're live about an hour ago. We'll come to, I guess, almost the last part of the topic of the show, and I hope everyone's enjoyed it so far. So if you're listening, guys, if you like the video, and like I said, shout out to everyone's channels here. Please check out Draco Vol, Red Dead Weekly, United Man. Links are in the description. Please check those channels out and subscribe to those channels. We really appreciate it. But lastly, I think it'd just be nice just to end the sort of stream just for the fact that United are playing Wolves in the FA Cup tomorrow. And just maybe a brief, let's not say a preview, but a brief, what do you expect from Solskjaer coming up to this game regarding how he's going to play? We know how he's going to play, let's be frank. Who's he going to play is probably is more accurate, and whether United can actually beat Wolves. So I'll start with Kieran. Kieran, you go first.
Well, whether we can beat Wolves, our record away at Molineux has been pretty poor ever since they've got promoted back to the Premier League. I think I'm not going into that game with much confidence. Obviously, taking the Arsenal result out of the equation, we haven't been playing too badly. But after that Arsenal result, I expect a response, and whether we get that response is obviously going to be one of the major deciding factors as to whether we are going to progress or whether we're going to suffer yet another FA Cup knockout at Molineux. But I think the players will be up for it. The players will want to prove a point. But Wolves they're playing some really, really good stuff at the moment. Yes, they did, lose against Watford at the weekend or in midweek, but actually they're playing some really, really good stuff. They've got some really talented players. And I think just in terms of how I expect us to play, I think there won't be too many changes from the Arsenal game. I think he'll make some as a reaction from how some of the players played and how poorly they played. And you'd hope to see that. But I don't think there's going to be a dramatic change in the lineup we saw. I think potentially Mason Greenwood will get a start. I would love to see Mason Greenwood get a start. I think he's someone who's, when he does get into the team, he's very consistent and very clinical in front of goal as well. And he might just be someone that we need that can unlock that Wolves backline and or at least take the chance when we get it, because I think when we played Wolves in the league earlier in the season, that was one of the things that we were missing. And the few chances that we made in that game, we only took one of them, and that against Wolves, you need to take your chances because they have the quality to unlock your defence, and that's what we need to be doing. So I think Greenwood, I would start him instead of someone like Daniel James. But I think in terms of the way we set up, I think we'll see a very similar back line. I'd be surprised if Luke Shaw starts again. I'd be surprised if Brandon Williams isn't playing in the team. But also in terms of the goalkeeper, I think Sergio Romero might get a start as well, because we saw it under Mourinho. Of course, Mourinho's not managing us, but obviously Sergio Romero in the Cups usually gets the nod. So Sergio Romero, the best backup keeper in world football, stick him in. And I think in terms of how I think it's going to go, I think Wolves will provide a very stern test. I'd hope that we come out on top. But if our record, if we repeat our record, then I don't have much hope for us. But at the same time, I do expect some sort of reaction.
Agreed.
Okay. United man, Shane man, you go.
Do you know what? I hope that Brandon Williams starts. Just to prove a point to Ollie that this is the whole point in playing youngsters. I just don't know. I just don't know if Ollie really is going to practice what he's preaching, but it'd be good to see. But ultimately, they've got, as you said already, G, a talented midfield, team, but their midfield, especially Ruben Neves, Moutinho, and obviously Raul Jimenez up front, is one of their highlighted players that can obviously hurt us. Adama Traore could be going up directly against Brandon Williams if Williams started. That'll be a tough test physically if he was to play. So we'll see. But I'm hoping that Ollie gives people opportunities first and foremost. As you said, especially Romero. Is he leaving Romero, or was there talk about him leaving in the summer?
Some talk, but I think that's died down now.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
Well, to be honest, him leaving would probably not be a disaster because you got Dean Henderson who's out on loan.
I was going to say that.
True. Sheffield.
True. Yeah. Great shout.
Yeah.
That is the example of a loan move actually done right.
Exactly. Thank you.
Yeah. Finally.
Even to be honest, Twanseva when he went to Villa, but for the injury, it's happened.
He did well. Yeah.
Good.
I reckon we're going to end up drawing, and then go. Is it going to a replay?
Yeah.
Yes, it does. Yeah. So that just be typical. We draw against them and then go to replay and then lose the replay. I'd love to see us do Wolves over, because Wolves obviously have been our, so to speak, bogey team, and we just don't. They know how to play against us. They're a very, very good team. Obviously, they have the individual quality, but they're a very good team. And they was unlucky to not take points off Liverpool as well, obviously with VAR. But no, I think ultimately, I think we'll struggle to beat Wolves. I do. I really do. They know how to play against us. We're going to be resting players as well, I think, to a degree. So I think we'll struggle to beat Wolves. I hope I'm wrong. I'm gonna put a bet on United winning, but I hope. I think we're going to struggle against Wolves. I do.
Joker man, you go.
I think I'm going to be a bit different, and I'm going to say United will beat Wolves. It's going to be a tough game. I think Wolves got a very good record against. I think they beat City recently as well, isn't it? Not long.
Yes, they did. Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did. Yeah.
But I think if I was in all this position, you look at the FA Cup, league is gone. Europa League will be tough. The league, was it Carling Cup or what's it called nowadays? You got Man City, right? That's going to be tough. I think FA Cup is probably, out of all of them, an only realistic trophy that United can get. And I think only with the way that United performed against Arsenal, I think Oli would probably send the team out to just go for it. Just go for it, mate. And I think the team will react. It's going to be a close game. I'm going to be a bit different. I'm not saying, we're probably not going to win, but we're going to win. Probably 1-0. We're going to smash them 1-0.
1-0, yes, 1-0. I love that, Robin.
Smash them 1-0.
If Adama Traore is on that pitch, I'm concerned for our defense, frankly. So like I've seen him play against us at least 2 or 3 times now, and basically Lindelof and Maguire don't really know what to do. Let alone there. So, but I'm going to be controversial, actually, my point, and I'm going to say that I know you should never want your team to lose, but for the sake of the squad, I do want United to lose, and I want United to lose.
Oh, Jay, that's a controversial.
I know, but we can't. The way I sort of see it is that, like, it's what is United's priority for the season? I think United's priority for the season is ultimately still to try and get European football.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely.
So the squad we have, especially given that for at least the first 30 minutes of this show, we talked about the fact that we may or may not get transfers in, we've got injuries, etc., etc. So we don't have the squad to compete for top 4 in the league, to go in the Europa League, to continue in the Carabao Cup, and then to continue an FA Cup run. Especially if Solskjaer is going to be insistent on not playing the Gunners and what have you. So we don't have the squad. It's just not there. We don't have the squad to compete in 4 competitions. So I guess the way I sort of see it is that, especially because FA Cup is going to have replays up until, I think, semi-final. Carabao Cup has got replays as well. We've got a home and away game against City. We're in the semi-final, isn't it? Okay, and obviously final is later. Europa League, home and away, still going, and obviously our Premier League games. So there's still a lot of games to play, and that's assuming that everyone is fit, because I highly doubt that like Matic or Fred are going to remain fit with all the others that are still playing. So I just think that, as bad as it sounds, like, for me, if the goal of this season is to get European football, then United either need to prioritize trying to get a good run to get top 4, and then saving those players that we're talking about, your Brandon Williams, for the Europa League, giving them rest, because we obviously didn't have any rest over the December window because players were playing games all the time, and then going for those 2 competitions. And to be honest, just bailing out of the 2 cups. I know it's controversial, and I know we shouldn't say a team to lose, but you know what I mean. It's so we have a team, a squad to do it. Yeah. So
there's some logic behind it.
That's controversial, G. That's controversial, bro.
I know.
I like it.
I know. I'm the first person to say you shouldn't throw a game in, but
yeah. Do you know what? Yeah, do you know what though? He's just got to give players opportunities, and whether it happens or not, at least, like he said, we're taking players out of the firing line in terms of injuries, fatigue, loss of form. You just got to play other players. Give the young players an opportunity. Simple as that. And then if we go out of the cup, fair play. At least we've done it by giving players opportunities. I'm not saying make wholesale 11 players changes, but 5 or 6 that'll do. Do you know what I mean? And just go from there.
Yeah, I agree with that. Give the youth a chance, go out with a bang.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Did I give my score? So yeah, if I'm going to give a score prediction, I'm going to predict a draw as well. So I've got a 1-1 draw. It's probably gonna, because we don't keep clean sheets these days, apparently.
Unfortunately not. Unfortunately not.
Not. We kept one against Burnley, I think. That's the last one I remember. So, but then no other clean sheets. So, right, okay. I think is that reasonable to end on that point? Yeah, I just want to say thanks everyone for tuning in. Thanks everyone for getting involved in the comments as well. And thanks to everyone. Thanks to Red Devil Weekly. Thanks to United Man. Thanks to Draco Evolve. Please check out their channels, guys. Go over to their channels, like and subscribe. We do a lot of awesome content. We'll hopefully try and do this somewhat semi-frequently.
Yeah.
I enjoyed this session. I think we should do
definitely.
it. Yeah,
same.
I mean, we've got our contacts on Twitter as well. We just message each other, whatever you want to do, make a WhatsApp. I don't know how you guys feel about that.
Yeah. Do that.
Yeah,
cool. Sounds good.
Just organize it. I'm sure we can come up with a time. And again, there's been a bit of a turn up, which is good to see. A lot of comments and a lot of people getting involved. I think this being the first sort of real show of us it can only get better, right? It will grow.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely, guys. Right. Okay. Thanks to everyone that was watching again. Take care, everyone. We're ending the stream now. And cheers.